the final GOP gubernatorial primary debate, concerns with the teacher literacy training rollout, plus the teachers union endorses McCormick, and more. From the television studios at WFYI, it's Indiana Week in Review for the week ending April 26th, 2024.
Indiana Week in Review is made possible by the supporters of Indiana Public Broadcasting Stations.
This week, 5 of Indiana's 6 Republican gubernatorial candidates showed up to the primary's final debate. U.S. Senator Mike Braun opted to stay in Washington, D.C. for a foreign aid vote. With Braun absent, many of the attacks were aimed at Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. Of particular focus in those attacks was her campaign's tentpole issue, a pledge to eliminate Indiana's income tax. Curtis Hill says the state needs a comprehensive approach to tax reform.
The income tax, the tax proposal is a gimmick. It's not realistic.
Brad Chambers says Crouch isn't credible on the issue.
Listen, Suzanne Crouch and Mike Braun, in their 50 years of combined service, public service, have raised taxes 50 times.
At that, Crouch hit back.
My opponents are entitled to their own opinions, but they're not entitled to their own facts. And as a state representative, I cut taxes a dozen times.
Some of the candidates also sparred as much with the moderator as with each other. The Indiana Debate Commission's format was aimed at cutting down on standard-length canned answers, and it sought to achieve that in part by asking rapid-fire questions designed to elicit yes or no responses. Many of the candidates took issue with that, and it came to a head around questions focused on election integrity in this exchange between Jamie Rittenauer and moderator Jon Schwantes.
It seems like you're really trying to set us up and cause division in our party, and we don't appreciate it.
Ms. Rittenauer, I think the party is doing quite capably on its own, creating some division.
Eric Doden is the one candidate who didn't argue with the moderator or his fellow candidates. He remained focused on his campaign talking points.
And we have more plans in writing than everyone on this stage combined.
Primary election day is May 7th. Did voters learn anything in this debate? It's the first question for our Indiana Week in Review panel. Democrat Lara Beck. Republican Joey Fox. Jon Schwantes, host of Indiana Lawmakers. And Niki Kelly, editor-in-chief of the Indiana Capital Chronicle. I'm Indiana Public Broadcasting State House Bureau Chief Brandon Smith. Joey Fox, we've seen in what limited public polling there is that there is a significant percentage of undecided voters still out there. Did this help them make up their minds?
Sure. All debates and any chance you've got to let the candidates speak their minds, answer questions, is going to inform voters. I realize this was a controversial debate, both in format and how it worked. And our moderator is here. I think I'd be remiss in my party to say that certainly a lot of us felt that you became a part of that debate in a way that if I were standing there I would have tried not to do. You were in the room and had to live with what was on the stage. But yes, to answer your question, I think we learned things.
Who do you think came off best in that debate?
That's a really hard question. Probably Mike Braun, because he didn't come. I mean, really. I no offense, John, because I think you really did a great job with what you had to work with. But yeah, Mike Braun. I mean, if you're the front runner, it does not serve you at all to be standing up on that stage. My takeaway from this debate as well is that it's reached the time in the campaign where the campaigns get to the silly season, right? It's close. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot of street cred, if you will, amongst your peers. And what's happening is I think people get chippy. I think they get rude. I think they take things out on the moderator. And if you literally cannot answer a question from Jon Schwantes, you should not be running for governor. I mean, let's just be real. I mean, that's what debates are about. And frankly, it's just disappointing when that happens.
Before we get to you, Niki, I want to ask both of you this question, because you brought up Mike Braun, who wasn't there. Are you surprised that the candidates on stage didn't go after Mike Braun a lot? I mean, he was mentioned a couple of times, particularly on an immigration question, which makes sense. But are you surprised that with Mike Braun absent and not able to fight back, that the other campaigns weren't just piling on.
Look, I think what you've got is a TV barrage in kind of campaign spending against Mike Braun, and you saw the candidates trying to provide, well, Jon may certainly disagree, the positive version of themselves at this and their ideas. I look at somebody like Suzanne Crouch, who I think is running the most disciplined of the campaigns, and is trying to explain why she can cut taxes and letting everybody else on stage say they want the government to keep more of your money. I think that those makes for some interesting dynamics.
Are you surprised they didn't go after Braun a little bit more?
I am a little bit surprised by that, but what I also think is what happens, and Joey can probably attest to this, intra-party fights are worse than when you're fighting the opposite party. They are worse. And so emotions are high, people are mad, friendships are being ruined, but they are. I mean, you've been through it. And you get into that environment, the stakes feel incredibly high, and they just lose focus and they lose patience and discipline. That was a great opportunity for them, again, to go after Mike Braun, and they lost it because they're so busy fighting with each other because they're so mad that one of them is not breaking out.
The debate itself and the moderator, to be fair, became a big part of the story, both in the night of and then in the aftermath. Where did things kind of go off the rails for you?
Why did I get this question?
I'm the only one left.
Yeah, he's going last on this topic.
I think there were a few questions that I didn't necessarily understand why they were asked, or they were asked in a confusing manner. I apologize, Jon. And, and there were also the yes-no things, pinning people down. They really didn't seem to like that. And it's okay to do yes-nos on very cut and dry issues, but if the candidates...
Short, sharp, to the point.
Right, but the candidates clearly felt that they needed to have a little bit more, discussion about those yes-nos, or most of the yes-nos, aside from the mask question.
Jon,
that was clear cut.
Jon, raise your hand.
Yes.
No. Do you think you ended up becoming a part of inserting yourself into debate more than a moderator should?
Not really. I mean, if anything, I think it might have been a lackluster performance, but not because for that reason. I just wish I had done a better job of getting them off of their talking points. As I stood up there, I could have recited, as somebody who had watched all the debates and had studied the campaign, if there had been somebody, fallen ill at the last minute, I could have given word for word each of their points. So shame on me for not eliciting more variety. The idea of the yes and no questions wasn't going to be, in theory, the only opportunity to weigh in. We wanted to see sort of where the temperature was collectively, and then go delve into each one if there were outliers or individuals that. So it wasn't as if, is this policy the answer to the world's most vexing problems? Yes or no? It was a starting point. It wasn't designed to be the ending point.
Do you feel like, because this is how it felt in the media room, and I think, I've covered a few debates now, including a few debate commission debates. It felt like the campaigns themselves, that there wasn't good enough communication between the commission and the campaigns themselves over the expectations. So as the debate commission explained to us afterwards, and I mentioned it in the piece, the goal here was to move you off of, it's the same format, it's 1 minute apiece, to the same questions that you hear in all these debates, that trying to move off of that, to try and shake it up a little, give the moderator a little more control to let a conversation go longer if it needs to, or cut them off to try and get away from the canned answers. I don't feel like the campaigns understood that at all. Was there a communication breakdown there?
I don't know. I wasn't part of that conversation. I did my part. And my boss that night was the people of the state of Indiana. I mean, whether I'm doing journalism in this context or with Indiana lawmakers or with the debate, I try to make sure that the record is set straight as much as often. If someone talks about federal funds with entanglements, well, guess that means federal funds, and you can't have a K-12 educational system, for instance, without federal funds. So I want to try to make sure that people understand. I'm only advocating for Hoosier voters. That was my boss in that event.
The Science of Reading is a body of scientific research about how children learn the building blocks of literacy, and state law requires schools to begin using the method this year. From WFYI's education desk, Rachel Fredette reports on how one big step in the process to teach educators this science has been met with strong opposition.
Educators with a license to teach preschool to 6th grade or special education must learn how to use the science of reading. Each of those teachers are required to complete 80 hours of training, take a test, and pass it. The state's Department of Education unveiled its plan this month. Indiana State Teachers Association President Keith Gamble says teachers don't have enough information yet.
They weren't even able to get clear direction from their school district, and so it just shows a complete disrespect.
Incoming teachers have to complete literacy training beginning in July 2025 before they go for an initial license. Current teachers must do the same on or after July 2027, or until they move to renew their teaching license. The Education Department says they will continue to answer questions from educators.
Lara Beck, Indiana has a critical literacy problem. Is the pushback to this training requirement from teachers reasonable?
Well, I don't necessarily think it is unreasonable that they're concerned about how this is implemented, for example. And I think a lot of times you can have legislation that comes through that sounds really great, it passes in a bipartisan way, but then there's also the execution of it. And I don't know what has gone into all of the research and all of the work that the Department of Education is. We just have to assume they're making a good faith effort. But to me, what some of this is it's also a symptom of the larger problem. And every legislative session, it feels like, the Republicans are the supermajority. They move the goalposts on education. So they see, we're not hitting our reading attainment. Okay, well, we need to change this. And there may be a very good reason for this. But it just feels like teachers are constantly the target, and it's unilaterally applied to them. And what I find really concerning is there is one strategy to boost reading, and that's universal pre-K. We have never passed universal pre-K. How are we going to expect third graders to be reading at proficiency when kindergarten isn't even mandatory in Indiana? So I think we have to take a step back, because what ends up happening is, I don't know if these guys go to a legislative conference Republicans and get a white paper on this is what you're supposed to do, or a lobbyist says, hey, this is the latest and the greatest. But it seems to me that we are just not fixing what really needs to be fixed, and that's that early childhood intervention. That's what makes the biggest difference. And I have a hard time with the fact that kindergarten's not even mandatory in this state, and you're expecting you're expecting a first grade teacher to teach a child who may never have cracked a book when they walk in the door when they're 7 years old.
I think there's things that everybody can agree to. One, Indiana clearly has a literacy problem. Two, the science of reading, with all the data that we have at this point in time, seems like a great effort to improve that. And then the thing that I think we aren't all agreeing on is how we're getting teachers to make sure they're teaching the science of reading. Is this sort of one size fits all that everybody, regardless of what you're teaching, K through 6 or special ed, you have to go through 80 hours of this training, take a test to get this certification?
Yeah, I think it is reasonable. Reading goes into every academic subject. You cannot be successful in academics if you can't read. We've looked at this year, the supermajority passed the requirement for third grade literacy before moving on. We have an economy that's growing and changing, and we just cannot hope to have kids be successful in this state if they can't read. And so I think the urgency around this is well-founded. Can the Department of Education take good feedback and work on implementation? Sure. But I think the sense of urgency here is important, and I'd rather make a few mistakes of action rather than inaction.
To that point, is that the right way forward? That, yeah, maybe this is going to be a little bumpy for a little while, but we're going to get to the place we need to go?
It will be bumpy. Anytime you make a change this significant, you will have bumps in the road. And again, teachers are not monolithic. It's not as if they all have the same background, the same credentials, the same understanding. So that's also going to require some effort here. Let's just hope this is the right science. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that maybe it's phonics, maybe it's I even forget what the different ones were called, but I know science has come a long way since then. So let's assume this is the right one. And we do need to do something as a state. It's unacceptable to have 1 in 5 third graders not meeting the standard. And it will haunt them arguably for the rest of their lives.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of data to back
in the
that up,
defense of
too.
the kids, I think we needed to do something, but it won't be without bumps in the road, and it will probably require some tweaking, I imagine, of the process.
Yeah, how do you see this playing out over the next?
I mean, they'll probably make some adjustments. I think one thing to remember is 80 hours is a significant amount of training, and that's basically 80 hours on their own because these contracts are set. You know, there's not 2 weeks of extra time sitting around for a teacher, so that's going to come out of their personal time to do that training, and I think that's a fair question.
You also have teachers, too, who are on a balanced calendar. So they might get out of school at the end of May, and they're back in school on, July 15th to start for the next year.
All right, time now for viewer feedback. Each week we post an unscientific online poll question, and this week's question is, should all pre-K through 6th grade and special education teachers complete 80 hours of literacy training regardless of existing experience and training? A, yes, or B, no. Last week we asked you whether you're confident in Indiana University President Pamela Whitten's leadership. 39% of you say yes, 61% say no. If you'd like to take part in the poll, go to WFYI.org/IWIR and look for the poll. Well, the political arm of Indiana's largest teachers union is putting its resources behind Democrat Jennifer McCormick in the race for governor. Keith Gamble heads the Indiana State Teachers Association and its Political Action Committee. He says teachers, parents, and students want a governor with a forward-thinking and inclusive message built by personal experience in schools. Gamble says Jennifer McCormick will provide that in the bully pulpit of the governor's office.
That message will get out, and that, in turn, is what we believe will help drive policy change.
McCormick says she will be a common-sense voice for bipartisanship in the State House.
We are not going to survive as a state if we are uneducated and unhealthy. We have got to fight for our teachers and our kids.
McCormick is unopposed in the Democratic primary. Niki Kelly, we've seen teachers make a major impact in a statewide race. Can they do it again here?
They can if they really, solidify and vote as a block. Obviously, it's tens of thousands of, voters are teachers. So it's absolutely possible. We saw it when Glenda Ritz was elected. So there's not, do I think it'll happen? I don't know, but we've seen it in the past. It can happen again.
But you just pointed out, John, rightly in the last topic, teachers are not a monolith. There are lots of teachers who probably support Jennifer McCormick and what she believes in. There are also probably a lot of teachers who don't. So can teachers make a significant impact in the race for governor, with Democrats obviously facing such an uphill battle?
Sure. I mean, it's nice to have an endorsement to the extent that endorsements mean anything. From some of the big ticket ones, if you are a law and order candidate, you want to have, the State Police Alliance. If you're a teacher, nice to have the teachers and maybe School Boards Association and others that might be involved. So that's just sort of icing on the cake. Certainly the ground efforts and the organization and support, that's what really would make a difference. And we have seen it make a difference in the past. And teachers oftentimes are respected members of their community who know the territory and theoretically are pretty good about giving instructions. You line up here, you line up there. Not always in the context of voting in the polling place, but they can have an impact if, in fact, the enthusiasm level is there and if they work coherently. But you're right, it's not monolithic. There will be those who support other candidates.
And one of the things that everyone talked about when we made the shift from an elected to an appointed state superintendent of public instruction, which was after Jennifer McCormick, was it puts more of a spotlight on the governor's race when it comes to education, because now that office owns that issue. So it is going to be an issue in this campaign. We just talked about teachers being frustrated with the state rollout of a major new requirement, and it's not the only thing that teachers and schools have been facing under Republicans the last few years, both positive and negative, and certainly in the minds of many teachers. Is there enough unrest that can be directed at Republicans to make a difference in the gubernatorial race?
No. The teachers union is giving $1 million to Jennifer McCormick, which is much more than she's going to raise otherwise in this race, and it's just simply not going to be enough. There's just not enough to overcome what is a conservative state that has chosen to put education under the governor, and it's been Republican supermajorities that have tried to push into higher achievement for kids. I respect Dr. McCormick's experience as a teacher, but there's no way that this propels her into the governor's office.
The dynamic of, you mentioned the Glenda Ritz race was the one I was alluding to. That was a shock, I think, to everybody at the time. As teachers organized and were upset with what was happening at the state level and took that out on then Superintendent Tony Bennett. But that was hyper-focused, education-only campaign. This, while there's a lot more that goes into, a brighter spotlight on education in the governor's race, it's not the only issue in the governor's race.
No, it's not the only issue.
So can teachers make the kind of impact they once had?
I think we're going to see this election. I mean, I think we're going to see that and how that comes out. I mean, I think you've got the funds that are into it. I think you've got the organization that comes in. And I think that it's funny listening to Joey talk. I mean, these were the same things that we said when Glenda Ritz and Tony Bennett were running against each other. But the thing we have to also remember about teachers is that in some school districts, that's the largest employer in that community. And if you've got a school district that is being defunded, they're struggling to do the things they need to do. People, I think, in most communities realize that teachers and school administration, they take on a much larger role than just welcoming your kid in the door at 8 o'clock and sending him out at 3:30 in the afternoon. I mean, the teachers are the coaches. They're running the Knowledge Bowl programs. They're running retreat. I mean, teachers and administrators are doing everything nowadays. And I think
there's social workers as much
and the social workers and the school counselors. So I think it's a school community piece as well that we can't lose sight of. And people do get tired when, again, that goalpost is being moved and you don't know how to navigate these systems that are put in place by the legislature.
A joint report by Mirror Indy and the Indianapolis Star this week revealed that gubernatorial candidate Brad Chambers' real estate company has twice failed to repay a multi-million-dollar loan to the city of Indianapolis. The story shows that in 2011, Chambers' Buckingham companies received $86 million in a loan from Indy to build a major development on the southeast side of the city's downtown, and got 10 years to pay it back. That deadline in 2021 came and went without full repayment, and the city extended the due date to December of 2023. Mirror Indy and the Star reveal Buckingham missed that deadline too, and still owes nearly $69 million. In a statement to the outlets, Chambers' company said it would pay back the city this year. Jon Schwantes, if Brad Chambers had been hoping for momentum heading into Election Day, certainly all the money he's spending, I would think he was hoping for that, does something like this derail it?
Well, it doesn't help you. If you want to keep, to the extent that you have that momentum, you want to keep people focused on your message, the notion that you're a competent architect of economic development at multiple levels. So especially at this late stage, maybe earlier on you can explain away and explain nuance of situations like this. Coming in the final weeks of the campaign, it can't help, let's put it that way. I'm sure it's not a welcome development.
And I mean, this would be an issue for any of the candidates in this race. But Brad Chambers in particular, he and Mike Braun kind of do the same thing. It's about running the state like a business. The state needs a CEO. I'm an outsider because I've spent 40 years building this company. And then it turns out that company that you say you want to run the state like hasn't paid back a multi-million-dollar loan to a government, to the taxpayers of a government.
Yeah, I do think it was intriguing, though, that no one from the city of Indianapolis was willing to really talk about it. And I couldn't tell from the story, I guess, what the impact of it is. Like, who's getting hurt by it? Is there more interest that's being paid by the city? Is it, like, who is it handicapping? Obviously, and we don't know if there was an agreement behind the scenes that the company could wait a couple more years to pay it off. So it looks bad, but I also feel like I don't know quite enough about it to fully form an opinion.
I want to talk a little bit about that with you, because that was something that some journalists brought up on social media around this story, and I think it's worth talking about. The lack of transparency from the city of Indianapolis on an issue like this. Like, even if they're not still paying interest, even if everything's been paid off, they're just waiting to get paid back. It's nearly $69 million. I can think of some things that the city of Indianapolis can do with $69 million. Why isn't the city,
But I don't think it's money like that. That money would then pay the bondholders.
Yeah, okay, so that would pay the bondholders.
So it's not like money that they could go spend on other priorities.
Right. So even accepting that, why isn't the city, the city is still run by Democrats, as far as I'm aware. Seems like they have an opportunity to go, hey, look at this Republican screwing us over. Why aren't they out front on this? Why isn't a single human being on the record talking about this issue?
Well, I think some of you journalists need to get off of social media because, it's just like amplifying an echo chamber. No offense, because there are, real people out there.
We're doing a lot of beating up on the.
I know. I'm so sorry. I won't be asked back. Coming from.
Hey, it's me as much as anybody else doing some beating up.
Coming from the perspective, though, of I'm not speaking on behalf of the city. Let's put that clear. But coming from the perspective of somebody who's worked in communications for local governments, sometimes the less you say, the better. You don't know if there's potential pending legal action, right? You don't know that. You don't know if they have been trying to get this money back and they actually have a good relationship with them. You don't know what agreements were in place. And so sometimes the less said, the better until you have more clarity. And I often counsel clients in this situation. You don't want to get out ahead of your skis on something like this and have it come back. Somebody finds an envelope, somebody finds an agreement somewhere. It's better to be quiet.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for That's Indiana Week in Review for this week. Our panel is Democrat Lara Beck, Republican Joey Fox, Jon Schwantes of Indiana Lawmakers, and Niki Kelly of the Indiana Capital Chronicle. You can find Indiana Week in Review's podcast and episodes at WFYI.org/IWIR or on the PBS app. I'm Brandon Smith of Indiana Public Broadcasting. Join us next time because a lot can happen in an Indiana week.
The opinions expressed are solely those of the panelists. Indiana Week in Review is a WFYI production in association with Indiana's public broadcasting stations.